É, QRM Office 55021, City 21, Rio de Janeiro, Private Living. We will make a movement today, quite simple, quite clear, and we will move from the point to stop. As you can observe, I was playing video game, the NHL, hockey for one specific 16 bits video game at the 90s, because you must have a mind set in the way we are reviewing things. If a global company have failures since from the 90s, and all global companies has, for sure you must review from the spirit. Putting yourself at this kind of spirit, and it's the very early days of the globalism. We had my company, which is my company has only two boards, which is the disgusting thing and the resolution. And my company is named Unique Solution Association. But since I had the loss of as approach of this center of decision, my company had too many solutions, and sometimes got associated with all things observed at the electoral period 2021. We came across this, for instance, as database Sigma with the budget considering the argument A as budget and in a very specific area, and the database Sigma as A budget information in the same way, not considering, for instance, the area, but the complementarity as all transactions between the entire globe and this area. And we will check that if the area has outlined as a statement, we must have in mind who is kind of cheating at the financial statement, if it is the area or a coalition between the entire global system against the area. This is a possibility, causal relation as complementarity observed by Venn diagram. The operation is named complementarity. We will make a movement today, quite simple, quite clear, and I will raise this board. It's so sad, but they will keep it. It's so beautiful, this board. By the way, if you'd like to have a color in your skin like golden, you must have juice with things kind of carrot and tomatoes and papaya and other things plus vitamins. Take a bit of sun if you are in Rio de Janeiro, which is 2 stations after the center of hell. You will walk on the street and get your skin burned. Then we'll check that we have two departments, special departments in global procedure, like the CIA and the KGB. We suggested an investment for the to both operate inside the control procedure that you are having as a system raised as moral entity by NATO purpose as peace, which implies the interest as my peace. My piece as a piece of cooperation goes like this. We had the frontiers of possibility between two areas, one very limited, but with a huge density as capacity, the other with a lot of things, but with density as doing nothing. And the integration of both can set something very, interest for the entire global system and security. The area with connection as capitalism can have the capitalism as capitalism do things, and the interflow with the supply chain will have levels as cross-cut, I would say, at the supply chain, and we will have the cross-cut one made by the CIA as international space that now is connected with the KGB, which indeed goes inside this area, and they kind of can control each other by the quality of over skilled trained resource that we have there. And the capitalism going as local trades, including the postal system, all violations that you did, for instance, against me in postal system as flow from America to Brazil. the USPS has empowerment as investigation, can track things and discover that indeed they had frauds at the postal system. Brazil sometimes led by the federal police. And then we will check in the same way when the local police have agreements and contracts as overpriced. One object in the investigation as public corruption and transnational organized crime from the FBI as the director named Operation Third Wheel. And guess what? We have the chief of police on it. Then local. We will check that the capitalism will have the review as supply chain and system of distribution things as routing by the FBI as Federal Bureau of Investigation. This is the general line that we had at this period, and we could get that the distortions. Indeed, we will observe inside the systemic organization of transnational organized crime by systematic failure, especially the blind association to guarantee the continuity from corruption, criminal association, including the nepotism and transnational organized crime, take advantage as white collar crime with overpriced contracts on companies, on budget as public budget, where the saving culture of your company. The tax evasion, which will not necessarily be only do not have your payment, but have the payment, and the criminal inside the public department have the overpayment with the criminal peers associated with that you receive and have the evasion of this money. And then you have the financial evasion, the integration of both, indeed will set a gap at your investment system as public system. Then you need more taxation, and very soon you have the Laffer effect combined as corrosive element with inflation. The argument on present time go by this, and the inflation as interest that you all have as pandemic organization of transnational organized crime by systematic silence, but you all inside the pandemic even provide anything, all this grace set from there, the piracy of items and items with low quality. Indeed, they have the entrance at the market by the decreasement as capacity to pay things by and the families, and it's something that you must review because it's not something competitive, but made as kind of engineer as trust to open space for things that has low quality. And if it is inside the drugs, Food and Drug Administration, as directory investigation, you are having the risk on Food and Drug Administration, and you have pills, for instance, not proper, people will got that. And especially in cases observed that they provide anything by speech that go as purchase of medical pills at the consumer market. Then we will check that indeed the current tracer and the new tracer as model that we have goes like this. It's something created as self-defense, which is a portfolio from my private living, and in general we will have builds and things. Is so much easy to understand and work that, for instance, if I have the regular pattern inside my organization, which is a line, and then I have an up and down movement that will be as a result a circle, and my organization as my department, my office, whatever is a square, and then I have a second movement which is a triangle. And let's suppose that the circle is white collar crime, the triangle is a murder, and I have a third one which is something, I have the up and down, and I will have kind of a star, which is an abusive procedure or abuses, in general. And I will get that it doesn't matter which is the quality of the result by the quality of the result, which is an up and down, it's not a line, it's something kind of curve. And if my organization is a square, this situation in a very first moment will be presented inside my building, which has an office or something like this. And for instance, if I have a murder with occurrence inside one specific public building on Rio de Janeiro, that this same building you have a complaint by one member of the House of Law, name it for instance, Cidinha Campos, and it's an abuse as white collar crime, but it's an abuse as abusive as a murder. And if the two both goes inside the house, you must close the house and have the interview and the review, not by our local authorities that are receiving payment to change cases or scapegoating against innocent people in company, by the KGB and the CIA, considering the Security Forum, the Pact of Home, the OAR, which is the Organization of American States, and we have the International Criminal Court. In the same way, Brazil is under this jurisdiction and accept the review of the independent oversight mechanism plus the whistleblowers that we have on tax of American tax system. Yeah? We will check that if you close this building, have that closed door and review with authoritative legitimacy to kill, considering the cycles of investment in CIA and the KGB, we will probably have the statement that will be transferred to the OAR Society, okay? It means England, and then they will have a report which will back off the NATO. The NATO will supply the security for Brazil USA, not considering Brazil in the way they behave as something not reliable. And then we will have, guess what? A situation which is a sampling inside the building, which is a parallel structure, organizing things by white collar crime, murder, and abuses. And this thing, it's a square, but will not be now anymore presented as a square, but something like a polygon or something like this, because indeed it's unveiled and has inside this another situation, which is a corruption inside the criminal organization on regular buildings by value as positive 1, corruption 00, which is a drug dependence, and they really are interested in have the heroin or something like this. We have the segmentation of the market, considering the marketing as a department on any regular company, and the purpose which was taught by Professor Kotler, which is marketing, are there to segment the market. We are doing this. Inside this situation here, we will have small groups that kind of are reacting in a very frequent and very intense frequency, as I call a crime, murder, and abuse, to have the continuity of their dependence and kind of have everything they are considering that belongs to him, including the public treasure, the public money, and even of in other areas. And we will check that this as a frequency, considering the distribution, which is the density as a functional organization, going from local house Rio de Janeiro until the entire system Brazil, presented as integrated failure up to Z, give ourselves the global failure in global scale, which is 1 up to 197 plus hidden levels, 198 transnational organized crime, 199 immigrants, 200, which is the control of this crap, and name it, the steering committee, the railroad, and kind of supporting the independent oversight mechanism. And we will kind of check that the chairs that you must have this review in a very first kick-off as procedure with authoritative legitimacy to kill is the local for very first registry, as for instance the police or the account, departments or officers account, which they do the very first record with authoritative legitimacy to kill, consider the KGB and the CIA, invite them with invitations from members to be inside a plan, and have that conversation as closed door conversation, which goes in any regular company with a serious department of governance, compliance, and risks. Then we will check that this will go from 198 up to 2028, cross cut 2022, first boat departuring very soon. The next one 2024. Don't miss your chance. I see you at the boat, because I will say goodbye to you twice or maybe 3 times. Have a nice night.